Well, first of all, what kind of mythical powers does a Sun Devil have? We got to consider that.
Now, Terrell, run the road again!
Hey guys! Hey! I'm having a press conference, okay?
Their fat little girlfriends have some obvious advantages. For one thing, their fat little girlfriends are telling them what they want to hear.
It's Division I football! It ain't intramurals!
All right, and welcome back to another episode of the Hoppy Huddle podcast. I'm Jake, that's Ed, and today we have got, oh boy, we have a show cooked up for y'all. We've got playoff predictions, we've got brackets, we've got a little bit of transfer news for those of y'all interested and speculation. We've got basically the super mega preview of the college football playoff, the first ever 12-team college football playoff. And while I may be an anti-expansionist, I am very excited to watch all of these games.
And I think there was a coaching hire. Some guys got a lot of Super Bowl rings since we last seen.
Yeah, there was also a couple of coaching hires. Yeah, I don't know. We should probably touch on that first. Do you want to touch on that first?
We got a lot to talk about. Yeah, I don't know. We got a ton going on. But yeah, let's I guess let's talk coaching and transfers before we get to our playoff predictions. So
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have had your head under a rock, but a little known coach named Bill Belichick got hired at the University of North Carolina for a whopping $10 million a year deal. North Carolina basically tripled their investment in the program. They are looking like they're serious about football now, which is something they have not been for my entire lifetime. For reference, Dabo Swinney makes 11. Mike Norvell makes 10. That's
before Mike Norvell decided to give money back.
Before he gave money back. Okay. But that's top of the ACC investment. That is, I want to compete for ACC titles and playoff berths investment. And they've apparently really upped their NIL game. Apparently, Michael Jordan was rumored to have donated some money to go along with that. There's a lot to think here about Bill Belichick specifically. The greatest coach of all time in the sport of football. This is pretty much, I mean, you can maybe debate Don Shula, maybe, but it's most people would consider Bill the greatest coach of all time. X's and O's are not going to be a problem. He's a genius on the grease board. He's had a good track record with evaluating defensive players, a little more questionable on offense in the NFL. So he has specified the sort of dual structure with Mike Lombardi as his general manager. That's going to be doing a lot a recruiting staff and a coaching staff, which is not actually that revolutionary because most of the major programs are running it this way now. But it's revolutionary for North Carolina because they were not doing that. And so they've basically said, all right, we're jumping into the modern era. We're investing lots of money, and we want to be competitive.
Yeah, so I'm just curious how many lacrosse players are going to be playing wide receiver next year for them.
Hey, Carolina got a good lacrosse program, man.
This is, if you're Carolina, there's really no downside risk here. I mean, you throw a bunch of money at the greatest coach of all time, and give him some tools to cook with and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you're Belichick, okay, if it doesn't work out, hey, you gave it a shot. Is college, I almost sneezed. You never were a college coach. It's not really going to come for legacy. Yeah. I just kind of wonder, as soon as another NFL team comes along next year, and I'll sneeze again here, live on air. Excuse me. Is he just going to be waiting around for an NFL job? That's what I want. I mean, I don't doubt that he's not taking this seriously. But next year, let's say they go 6-6, and Carolina finished the year. Didn't they go 8-4 this year or 7-5? I mean, it wasn't a bad year. It wasn't terrible, but they just don't have a lot of talent. I say they go 7-5 again, 8-4. Nobody's really going to be paying attention to them. Fill in the blank. I was going to say Chicago Bears, but someone comes along calling. Is he just going to run and go to the NFL? Because the buyout's not much.
No. And here's the thing is that I honestly, from Carolina's perspective, I still think it's a win because Belichick coming in is the only way. By the way, there was a huge power struggle in Chapel Hill that went along with this. The Board of Regents doesn't like the AD. They tried to get him fired at one point a couple of years ago. There's a huge power struggle. And basically the board won and the AD lost. And right?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. This is
so the board won, the AD lost, and they hired Belichick. And what happened is is that with Belichick, he's a big enough name, the biggest name, arguably, where you have that sway to allocate those resources to football. Where if you had hired an up-and-coming G5er like Sumrall from Tulane, if you had hired an up-and-comer, you may not have been able to convince the power brokers in Chapel Hill to allocate those resources to football. And even if Belichick leaves after 1 year, those resources are now allocated to football. And then you can then bring in another coach or even promote
maybe so.
someone who can then use those resources accurately, even if it's not Belichick. So I think it might have just been like the necessary match to turn on that program, even if like long-term Belichick's not the answer.
Yeah, maybe so. And I'm rooting for him, even though I hate Carolina Tar Heels. I'm rooting for Bill Belichick.
I love Bill Belichick, so yeah.
Just because I like him and I like him as a coach. And I do think it's better to have more ACC teams be good other than Virginia Tech. So I think if Carolina is good, that's going to bring up Miami. That's going to bring up Clemson. That's going to bring up Florida State. So I hope this is successful and they put some money into it and it works well. So good luck, Tar Heels. I'll be rooting for you, except when you play the Hoops.
Yeah. In other coaching news, it's get the band back together here because West Virginia has hired the father of the spread offense, Rich Rodriguez. Rich Rod back to where it all began. I feel like Rich Rod at West Virginia is like the beginning of the modern era of college football, or at least this era of college football. I feel like that's kind of where like that 2006-07 mark, that's kind of the divider between like the old college football and the new college football, in my mind, mentally at least.
That's just because that's when you first started remembering college football.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying in my head. Yeah. Exactly. So that's kind of it's just like an interesting thing seeing him come back to West Virginia. He can still coach. Like a lot of times with these retread hires, like, and I don't mean that dry, like rehires. Like it's kind of like Mac Brown. It was everyone was a little like he's old, he's really old. Like Rich Rod won at Jacksonville State. Still, he still coaches all ball. He still knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, Rich Rod's a good coach. I mean, you have to remember. I mean, you probably don't remember the specifics of this. I mean, Rich Rod was going to be the Alabama coach. He had accepted the job at West Virginia, and then he slept on it and decided he didn't want it, stayed West Virginia another year, then took the Michigan job. And I think he could have been successful in Michigan, and Michigan had given him the resources. Michigan didn't give him the resources. It wasn't a good fit. He wanted to run his up-tempo offense. Michigan wanted to run 3 yards in a cloud of dust. The people, the boosters and everybody didn't get behind it, and it was a disaster. You know, it was a complete disaster. And so he's been recovering ever since. But Rich Rod's a great coach, but he's coming to a different West Virginia. It's different. I mean, West Virginia ruled the Big East in those days. They were able to acquire more talent. Now they're coming into a program in the Big 12, which you look at the pecking order of the Big 12, they're pretty far down there. I just wonder if he's going to be able to acquire enough talent to really compete with the likes of, I mean, you got teams like, I know we'll talk, I mean, we get to the portal, I mean, Baylor's spending a ton of money and is going to be good next year. You got other programs.
Tech too, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech is spending money. They've
dropped over $6 million already this portal cycle.
Arizona State's going to be good. I mean, you've got a lot of programs in that Big 12 that West Virginia's looking up at. And I just don't know that they're going to be competitive. Colorado, I mean, it's a tough hill. But I mean, I think Rich is a great coach. I think
one thing with that is there seems to be a pretty decent NIL contribution from Pat McAfee, who has a multi-$100 million deal with ESPN. So I don't know how much McAfee is contributing to the NIL, but like he has enough money to actually make a difference there.
If they can find some NIL money, and we know Rich Rod can coach ball, so if you can get them the players.
McAfee went to West Virginia, obviously.
I remember when he played. So,
just for the audience,
for those out. Now, I think if you get in today's game, it's about if you can get the players, then you got to have the right coach, and I think
he can coach them.
He can coach them, and that they will have support in Morgantown, and he loves being there. I saw him with the interview of the bowl game. I watched a few minutes of the Frisco Bowl last night. He was on in the booth for a little while talking, and you could tell it's a special place to him. He's happy to be back there. So I think this will be I look forward to seeing what he can do. So,
yeah. Along that same route, Scott Frost back to UCF. Yeah. I'm a little less optimistic about that. If you look at the trajectories, that might have been a Gene Chizik situation at UCF, because if you look at what Josh Heupel did and if you look at what Scott Frost did, Heupel obviously the offensive coordinator and then head coach the next year at UCF, that might have been our coordinator is really good and that got our coach hired, and then the Gene Chizik, Gus Malzahn type of situation. So right. I'm a little less optimistic with Scott Frost. I like Scott Frost. I will hope he's successful, but I think it also the coordinator hires were a little confusing there. And UCF wants to be a big boy, but I'm not sure they have the want to. I don't know if they have the dollars currently.
No, it's not everybody can play in the big leagues. I mean, that's unfortunate. I mean, everybody's not going to. So yeah. And that's it's had a few other smaller hires, nothing worth really mentioning. I mean, but at least with our time today, because we got to focus on the portal and then get to the playoffs. So,
yes, portal news.
Where do you want to start?
Jackson Arnold to Auburn.
Yeah, that was the biggest one last week that hit. Jackson, a 5-star coming out of high school, highly regarded, was at Oklahoma. Things did not work out well at Oklahoma. They sent Dylan Gabriel packing to give Jackson Arnold the start this year.
Extremely talented. Not just like top 10 player over level, like very, very talented out of high school.
Yeah. But Oklahoma this year, wide receivers all hurt, offensive line hurt. He looked bad. They benched him. We said on the show when they benched him that we felt like that was it, that there was no coming back from that. He did play some more, but I think it was done. So he left. He's now going to Auburn, which I think's a better fit. Offense will be a good fit. And
receivers.
The receivers, you got Cam.
Receivers.
They are in the running. I thought it was a done deal, but I guess it's not. Ken Singleton is in the portal. And I thought I saw earlier today that Auburn was Ken Singleton is the highest rated receiver in the portal. And if Auburn gets that, you want to talk about bookending, bookend receivers there.
You got Perry Thompson too.
Yeah, but Singleton and Cam Coleman with Jackson Arnold. You also picked up a good offensive lineman from Virginia Tech. I mean, you're talking about Auburn is spending money. And
I mean, they have to. This is the prove it year for Hugh Freeze. If he doesn't have a successful year here at Auburn, and that's kind of up in the air what successful means, but he's gone.
Yeah.
So I also heard for Singleton, possibly Miami.
Yeah. So I guess the Singleton thing isn't done. There's a lot of schools in the Singleton mix. LSU, Texas, Auburn, Miami, and Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And he's going to command over $1 million easily.
True.
And you're talking about a couple of those schools. They all want him.
Yeah. Yep.
He's really the one that everybody's got their eye on at this point. I just think it's funny that, all these SEC schools are bidding over an ACC wide receiver because, from an 7-5 ACC team. I mean, but the ACC sucks, of course.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could make the argument why Georgia Tech should be able to keep him.
Well, Georgia Tech doesn't have the NIL dollars.
You're right. Yeah. So,
but I think, we'll remain, but Singleton is not signed yet. So that's one to watch. The other, you got number one in the portal right now is John Mateer, quarterback, Washington State.
By the way, you were poo-pooing over Washington State all year. I always wanted to talk Washington State because they are such a fun offense to watch. Like, I don't know if you watched the Apple Cup, but yeah, he was fantastic. He's been great all year. I don't know what they got up in Eastern Washington in the I forget what town they're in, but I don't know what they got cooking up there, but they seem to produce elite quarterbacks, and Mateer is fantastic. I don't know. His offensive coordinator got hired at Oklahoma, so that seems to be where a lot of people are leaning, but also Miami seems to be dangling a big bag of money, and, Miami's got a better O-line. If they get Singleton, better receivers, so it'll really, I think it'll depend, and we'll see kind of where he goes, but he's going to make one of those schools really competitive.
Yeah. And the rumor is, there's
power runner too.
This portal season is crazy. The rumors are everywhere. There's rumors that Miami is ready to drop big time dollars on a quarterback, and it may not even be a quarterback that's in the portal yet. It may be a quarterback who's playing in one of these games in the playoffs.
Yeah, The Texas QB situation is really interesting.
I mean,
I've
it'd be
also heard North Carolina for one of the Texas QBs.
I mean, is Arch really going to go in the portal?
Well, that'll depend. Sark's got to pick one.
Well, he's going to pick Arch. That's got to be easiest decision ever.
Yeah. You think, right? Yeah.
Does Arch want to stay? Does Arch want to go get the bag somewhere?
I think Texas can pay whatever. It's really Arch. I really don't see leaving just because like how the Mannings operate. I don't think they will do it like that. They have plenty of money. Like he could have chased money with like NIL deals, like endorsements, and he didn't. So I really think Arch staying. Quinn will be interesting. Like I said, North Carolina, Miami, lots of places. Just a little overview of the transfer classes. So Texas Tech woke up on the right side of the bed and decided to drop. I was wrong. Drop $2.3 million in the portal, estimated. And they have got what is between 4 and 8 4-stars through the portal, depending on who you ask. They have got receivers, fantastic interior offensive lineman Hunter Zambrano, corner, 2 corners, a D lineman. Texas Tech is loading up in the portal. They also quietly went 8-4 in the Big 12. Didn't really beat any good teams, but beat all the bad teams they were supposed to. So make of that what you will. They are going in the portal this year. Obviously, Ole Miss toward the top of the rankings, usual suspects. Minnesota loading up with 10 transfers. Just shout out Baylor, 17 in the portal rankings. They are looking like they're going to get Walker White from Auburn, who obviously he doesn't want to sit behind Arnold and then Robinson for 2 years. They've come to Baylor for 1 year, sit behind Sawyer Robinson, and then hopefully be ready the next year. He needs a little development. Baylor's also gotten a 4-star receiver, Kobe Pretense from Alabama. He was a top 50 player, just hasn't seen the field a whole lot. He made a drop in one game that he's been in the doghouse ever since, but extremely fast.
Yeah.
So
LSU and Auburn are right up there at the top of the portal.
Yep.
As we talked about Auburn earlier, LSU has finally decided to spend some money.
A&M too.
A&M. The team, as I look through the rankings, and we're not done because you have to remember the portal's still open.
Yeah.
These playoff teams get done. More people are going to be in the portal. As I look through the top 50, you know who's the most absent from that list?
Alabama and Georgia.
Well, yeah, but that's because they don't need as many from the portal.
Yeah.
They're still Alabama's still in the top 50. Guess who's not in that top 50? That needs to be in the portal. Florida. Florida's done nothing this portal class. They've only lost people, which really surprised me. I thought they had a lot of momentum at the end of the season, and they've done nothing but lose.
Well, they are rumored as one of the locations for Zachariah Branch.
Now they pick up Branch, and they could change this real quick.
And they did have a good recruiting class come in.
Yeah, but still, you needed to do a little bit more in the portal, I think, to kind of build a little bit.
Yeah, I would say so. But you got to also think some of those resources were probably allocated to getting guys to stay, like good dudes.
Maybe so, but they need to do a little more, or you can't do another 7-5 season.
You're right.
That's not going to be acceptable.
You can't do that. Another something to watch, Deuce Robinson, the former 5-star wide receiver / tight end, who was also at USC, may be headed to Arizona State. He is extremely fast, extremely big, huge, big physical wide receiver. He projects, he's kind of who is that tight end from Florida that got drafted by Atlanta?
Kyle Pitts.
A Kyle Pitts type of player, like receiver, tight end, flex type of thing. He's very good. Warning signs in Southern California. What is happening? All the good players are leaving.
So, yeah, I don't know what's going on there. They've had a lot of all their good players leave go to the portal.
Yeah.
So we'll give credit to Tom Fornelli at Cover 3. Tom threw out a suggestion today that maybe they're hearing whispers. Could Lincoln be going to the NFL? Is that what's causing this exodus? Now, that was pure speculation on Tom's part. He had no information. But I just wonder, what's going on? I mean, this was supposed to be they weren't terrible this year. They played a lot of close games.
They were 6-6.
But they lost a lot of those games close. They were you flip a couple of those, it's not a bad year.
Yes, but there's a pattern emerging with Lincoln Riley in that he started out with 10 wins, and then it was 8 wins, and then 6 wins, it's not going in the right direction.
Well, yeah, and if he gets an NFL offer, I wouldn't be shocked to see if he gets out. I mean,
I would take it if I were him. Yeah.
But yeah, something's not right in the water there at USC, and it's not in the right direction with losing. I mean, between Zachariah and Deuce, and Miller Moss and others. I mean, the top 50 Porter players are littered with USC people. I mean, just
he does not have a single 5-star that he's recruited still on the roster.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's nuts.
Well, we could talk Portal.
Portal will be forever. We can talk more Portal in the off season. So, yeah, I think it's time to get down to the main event, the main course, and that is the 12-team college football playoff. And so, what do you think? Let's talk about the first round games. First round game is first.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go through the first games, and then we'll do our brackets. So
yeah.
You want to start? Let's start with Friday night's game. Let's talk Indiana at Notre Dame. Weather forecast is going to be brutal for 3 of these games, so it's just going to be cold.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jake? Tell me what your analysis of the game. Let's break it down.
My analysis of the game is Notre Dame is better at every position except quarterback. So that is an important position, though, because that the most important position. And while Notre Dame may be better at all those individual positions, I think Kirk Cignetti is a significantly better coach than Marcus Freeman.
Thank you. Bingo.
I like Marcus Freeman is a good recruiter and all that, but in-game coach, practice, scheme, I would give me Kirk Cignetti over him any day of the week. Notre Dame secretly does not have the best run defense.
Well, they're okay.
I know, but that's like their defense is very good. Their defense is very good. The run defense is just mediocre, so that might be a way they can attack them. Indiana has shown the ability to sort of run the ball in some of these games. They're very Kirk Cignetti is extremely good at just like scheming correctly against his opponent. They've played a bunch of different teams that play a bunch of different styles, and excluding the Ohio State game, which they just got out talented and they were not prepared. They just looked deer in the headlights. There was a thin road to victory. They didn't take it. Every other game, they have just come out prepared, pedal to the metal, and just took off. And I think Indiana has the better quarterback. And if there is going to be an upset in one of these games, I think probably it's most likely that it's going to be Indiana over Notre Dame. There will be a lot of Indiana fans there. It's not like Notre Dame has a good home field, but there will be a significant Indiana presence. Again, in-state game. Notre Dame, of course, located in South Bend, Indiana. I can't wait for this game. It'll be so much fun. I really think, can Riley Leonard throw the ball in 3rd and long? Because Indiana does play an efficient defense. They kind of keep everything in front of them. They're not letting you get those explosive plays. I think Indiana will dare Riley Leonard to throw the ball over the top and trying to contain the run game, because that's been Notre Dame runs, and then they do the play action stuff and they roll Riley Leonard out. So if Indiana plays up and tries to contain the run, will Riley Leonard be able to throw the ball over the top? And I'm just not entirely sure. I think Notre Dame wins. I don't think they cover. I think there's very possible that Indiana could win this game.
Well, so you're picking Notre Dame.
Curtis Rourke's better, than Riley Leonard, in my opinion.
So okay, you're picking Notre Dame. So here's where I bring it. When we watched that Indiana-Ohio State game, and Indiana could not run the ball. Ohio State has a great run defense, and that really set the tone for the game, and Indiana strong. As you mentioned, Notre Dame's defense is good, but they do not have Ohio State's run defense.
No.
And I think Indiana is going to be able to find some confidence in running the ball against Notre Dame. And if that, they're not going to get that far behind. And I'm going to go back to the last game Notre Dame played against USC. And we just talked about USC was a mid-team, a 6-6 team.
They threw the ball.
And they were able to score points. Now, USC also turned the ball over. That's why Notre Dame, I think when Notre Dame had 3 pick sixes in that game, I know they had 2.
At least 2,
maybe 3.
Yeah.
But USC kept scoring. And I see Indiana being able to keep pace in this game. I don't think they're going to be scared of Notre Dame. It's in the state of Indiana. I don't think it's going to be a big home field advantage. And nobody ever really talks about Notre Dame's home field advantage being that great. This isn't going to Neyland or the Shoe or down to Bama. Notre Dame's fine. It's a home stadium, but there's going to be a lot of Indiana fans there.
Yeah.
I think that Notre Dame has not had, last time they won an important game like this was like in the next. Okay. I mean, they have not won a BCS game. They didn't win any playoff games. And I don't think they're winning Friday. I will take Kirk Cincinnati. Give me the SIG. Give me the Hoosiers. I don't care the point spread. Go Hoosiers. There's your upset of the first round for now. Hoosiers going to win this game out.
Wow. Okay. So I feel like I'm contradicting myself for later in the bracket because I do actually think Notre Dame is very good, but I just think this is a good matchup for Indiana. So
now, don't get me wrong. If Notre Dame wins, I think they could beat Georgia, but that's a whole other.
That's kind of my thing. A little preview for later in the bracket. I think if Notre Dame wins this game, I think they're in the title game. So
I think you're probably right, but
yeah,
I think this matchup is not. I think this is.
It's not a good matchup for Notre Dame.
No, it's not. I think, and because it's Indiana, because they're not having to travel, they're not having to do anything. I think this sets up perfectly for them.
It's not a Southern team that's not used to the weather. Indiana plays in the cold. They already had a snow game this year, didn't they?
They're in the Big Ten. They're not afraid of this game. That's why this isn't the matchup Notre Dame wanted. I really don't.
Notre Dame wanted SMU or Tennessee.
They wanted somebody else. So exactly. Yeah. So nope. Give me Indiana. All right, let's move on to Saturday's games. Let's see. The first game Saturday is what? SMU and Penn State. SMU is going to Happy Valley. It's going to be cold in Happy Valley. SMU,
will it?
Yeah, it's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be free. Isn't it like 20?
Oh, yeah. It's been snowing this week. What's the temperature going to be? Probably 27 degrees in Happy Valley. Now, this is a noon kickoff. That'll help. But here's the challenge I see in this game. I don't know that this is a dynamic offense that Penn State's facing in SMU. The problem is are they going to be able to throw the ball effectively in this weather? I do worry. This is a game where I do worry. If it's windy and snowing, I worry that's going to slow down SMU. Is it going to be too cold for them to catch the ball? Because I do think if this game were at 70 degrees, I think SMU would have a pretty good chance here. I just wonder if this passing game from SMU is going to be effective against this Penn State defense in this weather.
Yeah.
I think this slows down the SMU offense and it plays right into Penn State's hands. I think Penn State is playing really well right now. I think the Big Ten championship game showed us what this offense of Penn State's capable of when they're playing at their best. I think as much as I like SMU and I think they deserve to be here, I just don't think this was a favorable matchup. They could give them a fight for a little while, but I think in the end this is too much Penn State, too much Tyler Warren, too much Penn State defense ultimately. So I forget what the line is, but I think Penn State probably wins this stuff.
Yeah, I tend to agree just because I think the weather is horrible because SMU, they are a kind of throwback finesse team, right? They've got a mobile quarterback that they sling the ball around. Their defensive line is like sneakily really good. You wouldn't think that because SMU, group 5 team, you think finesse team. They got a solid defensive line, so they might be able to contain Penn State running the ball. But the problem is their secondary is very suspect. And who on that team is going to guard Tyler Warren? Like, I have no idea. It'll be cold. Can Kevin Jennings buy enough time? SMU's offensive line is not going to hold up against Penn State's D-line. He can run around, but will he be able to run around and create enough explosive plays? Because I think if you get to 28, you win, probably.
I think so.
But the problem is, I don't know that like SMU can get there. Because I don't think Penn State's going to score a ton, especially because SMU's D-line may be able to stop the run or contain the run. But Penn State's defense is really good. They got good secondary, good safeties, good D-line, good linebackers, solid defense. And I'm not super confident that SMU's offense can really take advantage of that, especially in the cold.
And don't forget this home field advantage too. Penn State plays really well at home.
It's a loud environment. Yeah.
And they haven't been great on the road. Like if you flip the script here, if Penn State was going to SMU, I would actually probably think SMU would have a pretty good chance of winning this game. But I just don't think in this environment, I don't think SMU. So
yeah, I tend to agree.
All right. Then we go down to the great state of Texas, the capital, Austin, to see the fifth seed Texas Longhorns against the Clemson Tigers. Jake, what are your thoughts on this one?
My thoughts on this one are, man, this is a matchup of styles. It's the ultimate David versus Goliath. It's the school that imagines themselves as David, Clemson, the bring your own guts, the Roy bus, the little old Clemson versus Texas, who, and honestly, both of them have kind of pretended to be the David and the Goliath for most of their existence. Clemson has pretended to be the David when they're really actually a pretty solid program. And Texas has pretended to be Goliath, even though they really have not, until Sark got there, have not been living up to their potential as a program. But Texas is peaking right now. Their defense is really good. The problem with Texas, matchup-wise, is their offense has been actually pretty bad, in the last, recently. Excluding the Florida game where they were playing against Florida's third string and they can kind of just do whatever, Texas has not looked good offensively recently, and that could be a problem. I think Texas wins this game just because I think their defense is so elite. Their defense has not had any problems all year long. They've been fantastic. They've lost to Georgia primarily because they could not score on offense. But so Clemson will struggle offensively against Texas's defense. But if Clemson is to win this game, it will be because of Texas's offensive struggles. And I think they will have to use Arch Manning. And if they don't, they're putting themselves at risk of an upset here. And I think the path to an upset for Clemson is you generate explosive plays, because I don't think you can sustain long drives against this Texas defense. But if you pop some wide open receivers, a Wesco or Moore or the tight end, maybe a Phil Maffa long run or a Klubnik scramble, honestly, he's been running the ball pretty well. You pop some explosive plays and you can get up on Texas. If you rush out early, that may be your path to victory, because I don't see Clemson being able to continuously sustain drive against that Texas defense.
Yeah. So, and this game puzzles me because we talked about Texas has been one of the top teams all year.
Yeah.
They're from the high mighty SEC, but I just don't understand this team because their schedule, schedule wasn't tough this year. And they beat Michigan, but we all know Michigan wasn't great. They beat Oklahoma. This is a bad Oklahoma team. They lost to Georgia twice. Tell me where there's an impressive win on their schedule. There really isn't. And you look at their last five, they're struggling to score points. The only team they really scored against, like you said, Florida, who was playing their third string quarterback and couldn't move the ball.
Yeah.
And they scored 31 against Kentucky. Well, my goodness, you and me and a couple of guys on the street could score against Kentucky this year. Other than that, this team struggled to score. So I agree with you. The offense for Tennessee is worrisome. And what's even more worrisome is they turn the ball over. And, so then let's go by position here. Klubnik's had a much better season than you. Phil Maffa's a better running back than anything Texas has given us. Wide receivers, I give an edge to Clemson here. The problem is, the Texas defensive line is superior here.
So good. It's so good.
It may be the best in the country, right with Ohio State. So can they generate anything against this line? Clemson going to have any time to throw? Are they going to be able to run the ball? Or are they just going to be, or is it going to create problems for Clemson? If Clemson can do anything at all and find some time, I think there's a path for Clemson here because
there is, yeah,
clearly, but there's also very simply, they could just shut Clemson down and Texas could win this game.
Yeah,
24-6. It
could be just like the Georgia game at the beginning of the season for Clemson.
But
although their offense has gotten better since then.
Yeah, so there is a path in my mind for Clemson here to win. I don't think it's I think is Texas a double-digit favorite, which I don't understand. I'm not sure I'd bet this game, but to me, I'll be rooting for Clemson. I think they've got a shot. I'm guessing I'm still going to pick Texas here, only because I do think the defense overall, that defensive line is just so good. But nothing's going to surprise me here if Clemson doesn't go out and win this game. I will not be shocked at them.
Yeah, I put a shekel, a little $2 on a Clemson national title ticket, because here's my thought process with that. If Clemson beats Texas, it means they put it together offensively. It means all of those talented receivers and all the 5-star receivers and the 5-star quarterback and the high 4-star running back and everybody, they put it all together. And if that happens, look out. So if Clemson wins, I think they could go all the way. But I just think it's a lot more it's more likely that they get completely shut down. So I just have just to get those odds before the game. I just dropped a little bit of on a Clemson title ticket. Not super likely. We don't put a lot of money on it, but
I
the
think
upset potential. Clemson has a very high ceiling and a low floor. So I agree. Yeah. Yep. The night game. This is
over the shoe.
Yes. Tennessee, Ohio State. Man, I feel like just all the focus is on Ohio State in this game because everyone's just thinking about how they played against Michigan, all the pressure on Ryan Day. If they lose this, is he gone? What is going on? Like Ohio State, they can't do anything. And honestly, I don't know what's going to happen in this game.
Wait, I can tell you exactly what's going to happen.
Let me give you
most confident in this game out of all 4 games.
Okay.
You want to know what's going to happen?
Yeah, what's going to happen?
Let me give you some stats. The team that's going to lose, when they go on the road this year, they average 173 yards passing, 6.3 yards passing attempts, and 0 touchdowns while they're on the road. Guess who's on the road?
Tennessee.
Yes. They're on the road this year. They beat Oklahoma, who's terrible, 25-15. They lost to Arkansas, 19-14. They lost to Georgia, 31-17. This Tennessee team, when you take them outside of Neyland this year, has been dreadful. Okay, we've been waiting all year for Nico to do something. He has shown 0 ability outside that Alabama game to do anything of substance passing the ball, and especially on the road. We're not playing Alabama A&M Tech. We're not playing Roast Beef Tech. We're not playing North Carolina State, okay? This to me has Ohio State by 20 points in this game. Ohio State is mad. They're in their home building. They're mad that Tennessee people are coming there. They will eat this team alive. This has got turned to a Hallmark movie by halftime, written all over. Counterpoint. Let me present the opposing argument. The things that Tennessee is best at are the things that Ohio State is worst at. But what has been Ohio State's problem when they face physical teams that run the ball? What does Tennessee do? They're very physical on the line of scrimmage, and Dylan Sampson is probably the 3rd best running back in the country. They run the ball, okay? What is Ohio State's weakness on offense? It's their offensive line, right? They have injuries. They got problems with offensive line. It hasn't gelled. It's relative. It's relative weak. I mean, it's still...
Yeah. What's Tennessee's strength on defense? They have a nasty defensive line.
Only the defensive ends, not the defensive tackles.
Yeah, and it's Ohio State's tackle one of them is injured.
Well, listen, I will counterpoint to this. Name me a passing attack that Tennessee's faced this year that's as good as Ohio State's. You can't. They haven't played one. All year we've criticized these Tennessee secondary. They have not faced receivers like this. They have not faced
Yes, you're right. You're right.
This is not even care if Ohio State can't run the ball. They will throw the ball all over Tennessee.
It doesn't matter if they run the ball. Those edge rushers are going to get pass pressure.
The only decent team that could pass the ball, the only decent passing game they faced was Georgia, and Carson Beck carved them up like no tomorrow. And that's the same thing.
Georgia's got a much better O-line than Ohio State.
But they don't have nearly the receivers that Ohio State did. And Ohio State will carve them up on Saturday night. I'm telling you, this is the blowout.
If they just hold the ball and run the ball and get pressure, you don't have to guard those receivers for 5, 6, 7 seconds if Will Howard's under pressure all night. And Ohio State's O-line has given me no reason to think that they can protect Will Howard against good players.
Well, we are going to disagree, my friend, because I think you're...
I don't know. I'm
SEC bias glasses. You need to take them off and look at reality.
I'm picking Tennessee. I'm picking Tennessee to win. I'm not confident at all. Those are my reasoning. It's a matchup thing. I think Ohio State, if they don't get up early, will get in their own head and get rattled. Yeah, I don't know. I don't trust Ohio State this year. I think they're emotionally scarred from Michigan, and I don't think they're ready.
All right. Well, okay. So you got your picks. I've got mine. Now, why don't you tell us the rest of your bracket? I'm based on your pick.
All right. I have got, watch this. Boom. Look at that.
So you've got, hold on, pull it back up. So you've got Texas versus Arizona State, and you've got Texas winning. You got Tennessee and Oregon winning.
Yep.
Then you got Boise State and Penn State. You have Boise State upsetting Penn State.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, Georgia. Okay, Notre Dame beating Georgia. Notre Dame beating Boise State and Oregon over. Okay.
Yeah. So my thought process is you got to pick some upsets. Somebody's probably going to get upset. I don't know who. I'm putting it on Penn State because it's not at home in the Fiesta Bowl, big game, Penn State choke. Like, I don't know. I also think that Georgia without Carson Beck, I think that's the kind of matchup that Notre Dame wants. Somebody that's willing to get in the muck and run the ball with them. And I think Notre Dame's better at that than Georgia this year. I don't know if you've noticed, but Georgia's run game isn't very good. They're going to have to rely on it more without Carson Beck. I think Notre Dame can beat Georgia. I think Oregon is the best team in the country. I think they will beat they already beat Ohio State. So even if it's Ohio State, I think Ohio State with a week. First of all, in that first matchup, Oregon's best defensive tackle was out on injury, and Ohio State had one more of their offensive linemen that wasn't injured. The lines of scrimmage shifted even more in Oregon's favor in the time since that first game was played. So even if it's Ohio State, I think I got Oregon beating the winner of that game. I think the winner of Clemson, Texas will beat Arizona State, no matter who it is. Even if Clemson wins, I think that winner will beat Arizona State and then lose to Oregon because I think Oregon is the best team in the country by far. I think that they have just been elite all year long. They have almost no flaws. Dylan Gabriel has been fantastic. He makes excellent decisions. He doesn't make stupid turnovers that can lose you those upsets. I think Notre Dame will then out-physical Boise State. And Penn State is also the kind of matchup that Notre Dame would like to get into. So I think Notre Dame goes to the title game, and then I think Oregon wins because their wide receivers would be superior to Notre Dame's.
All right. So let me tell you where you're wrong, and I'll tell you where my bracket looks better and is perfect.
All right.
So, of course, I have Texas playing Arizona State,
Mm-hmm.
and I have Arizona State winning that game. I think they're going to –
Really?
Yes. I think they're on fire, and I think they're going to have too much offense, and Texas is not going to know what to do.
You think Cam Scattergoose can run on that Texas defensive line?
I do think he is, yes.
Wow.
And then I've got Oregon playing Ohio State, a rematch earlier in the year, and I've got Oregon moving on. Then I've got Penn State playing Boise State. We had that same matchup. However, I don't believe in Boise State as much as you do. I believe Penn State will move on. I just think Penn State's got more talent there. Yeah. And then I've got Indiana beating, Notre Dame. So Indiana plays Georgia. And then I think that's a bad matchup for Indiana.
Georgia would obliterate Indiana.
Yeah. So
that's a sad matchup if that happens. I hope that doesn't happen for Indiana's sake.
Even with Gunnar Stockton, I think that goes Georgia's way. So then in the semifinals, I've got Arizona State and Oregon, and I have Oregon moving on.
Okay.
And then I have Penn State, Georgia, and that's where the difference between Gunnar Stockton and Carson Beck will show up. I have Penn State winning that game. So my national championship game is Oregon-Penn State.
A Big Ten championship.
A Big Ten championship rematch, and I have Oregon winning just like you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
They're the best team in the country.
You can't really – it's hard. You have to, really outthink yourself to pick anyone other than Oregon at this point.
You do.
Because everybody else has clear and obvious flaws. Oregon's only clear and obvious flaw is Dylan Gabriel kind of doesn't have arm strength on super deep balls, but he's super accurate. He just throws them a little slower. That's the only downside of anywhere on Oregon's team. And he hits all the deep balls. It's just a little slower than some of these other super strong arm guys.
Somebody is going to have to play an A-plus game, and Oregon's going to have to play their C game in order for Oregon to lose. I mean, it's just I think Dan Lanning is a maniacal, serial killer machine. He has got that look in his eye, or he's I will choke you if it gets me 0.1 more points. Yeah. Now, I mean, weird things can happen, and games can be lost because mistakes are made.
Yes, and also you can't predict injuries. No. Injuries could blow this entire thing up. Injuries to a key player, lineman, receiver, quarterback, that could blow the entire thing. If Penn State loses LR in the SMU game, good night, because Bo Pribula obviously announced he's no longer with the team. He's in that transfer portal. The calendar is messed up. It's all stupid. But
that's one other episode.
that's a whole other thing. Yeah, so I think it'll be interesting. Just some things to note here. You could see an SEC. I know you don't care about this. You could see an SEC team in the Rose Bowl, which I think, whatever. I think Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl is peak vibes. That's fantastic cinema. I think it'll be Georgia finally has to, go out of the state of Georgia to play a bowl game. They have to go to the Sugar Bowl. It's Louisiana, but it's not in Mercedes-Benz. So, yeah, it'll be. And then Arizona State, they like Arizona State goes to Mercedes-Benz. So
yeah, it's going to be fun. So we got.
It'll be interesting. I cannot wait.
We've got a lot of football to watch and good stuff. Now our schedule's such that due to the holidays, I'm not really sure if we're going to do another show. We may try to before the quarterfinals. We'll see. Jake and I got to talk about it. We just have some conflicts.
Before the quarter, I doubt it before the quarterfinals. We'll definitely do one before the semifinals.
Yes, we'll definitely do it for the semifinals. But Jake, you and I'll talk offline, and maybe we can do a quick little thing somewhere. We'll come up with something.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe recap. So anyway. All right. Well, and by the time we get to our next show, all kinds of other portal news will happen and everything. So things are.
Yeah, I'm sure. Diego Pavia's back. Look out, SEC.
Look out. Yes. So
they're gonna get somebody
right.
who will win the losing to Vanderbilt sweepstakes next year.
Yes.
Stay tuned to find out.
Well, thank you, very loyal Hoppy Huddle followers. Enjoy your Christmas and holiday season. Enjoy the games this weekend, and we'll be back in touch soon. Right, and enjoy the playoffs.
All right. Good night, America.